My name is James Goulden, and in this podcast today, I'm going to discuss why pop music is so successful. So, have you ever gotten to your car turning on the radio and the first song you hear is just awful? And after about 5 seconds of listening to that song, you decide to change the station. Next station, you get an ad. Then you change it again, and it's just more garbage music. These songs sound so similar to each other, and besides their blaringly loud bass tracks that are terribly EQ'd and too much autotune, there's the fact that popular music today is homogenizing. Okay, so think about what you might consider to be pop music today, and compare that to what you consider to be good music. I believe that the music industry is headed in the wrong direction of promoting the music that will make them the most money and not what is necessarily the best. So today I'm going to show you a few things about the music industry and pop music specifically. I'll show you what people tend to like and why. The next thing I'll show you is what popular music is like today and why it is like that. And finally, we're going to take a look at what the future of music will be if our current trends keep continuing. So first, we're going to discuss what do people like and why. So, according to a scientific journal published in December of 2014 titled Instrumentational Complexity of Music Genres and Why Simplicity Sells, complexity actually starts turning people off of musical styles. Alternative rock, experimental, and hip hop music are all more complex now than when they began, and each has seen their sales plummet. Very few genres have retained high levels of musical complexity over their histories, and the few genres that have are folk rock, and experimental music, and most of those just don't make that much money compared to the others. And in another study titled Measuring the Evolution of Contemporary Western Popular Music, done in 2012, the authors went through a massive data set that contained songs and descriptions from the past 55 years, and that was worth more than 1,200 days of continuous listening. Man, I hope one person did not have to do that all on their own. And the music was from various genres, and each is described in terms of three specific areas: loudness, pitch, and timbre. And what they found was a lot of similarity. It turns out there are specific combinations of loudness, pitch, and timbre which are extremely persistent across time. And there are certain combinations that just clearly sound good to us. And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. In many different genres, and some phrases and aspects of music just persist over time, from all of them, from classical to rock. There have been numerous psychological studies that have been done that have shown that people choose songs they're more familiar with over songs that more closely match their reported musical taste. So obviously, the music industry has picked up on this, and they choose to play familiar sounding music and push it to listeners in massive quantities, and they've quickly capitalized on this. Also, genres become more and more uniform over time because of this, so that's why we hear the same songs over and over again on the radio. Did you know that the top 40 stations played the 10 biggest songs almost twice as much as they did a decade ago last year? So finally, the last thing we should take into account of what makes music sound good to us is that scientific aspect, harmonic frequencies. Harmonic frequencies are all multiples of the same fundamental frequency. For example, notes of frequencies 2, 3, and 400 Hz are all multiples of 100. Over time, frequencies shift in and out of phase with each other, causing the sound to wax and wane in amplitude. This creates dissonance and a wobbling sort of sound to our ears. A few researchers from New York University have shown that musical chords sound good or bad mostly depending on whether the notes being played produce frequencies that are harmonically related or not. And surprisingly, the preference for harmonic frequencies was stronger in people with experience playing musical instruments. Perhaps playing a musical instrument is key in your musical taste and what may or may not sound good. So now let's take a let's talk about what pop music is like today and why. Researchers from the Medical University in Vienna in Austria studied 15 genres and 374 subgenres, and they rated the genre's complexity over time by measuring quantitative aspects such as timbre, acoustical variations, and then compared that to the genre's sales. They found that in nearly every case, as genres increase in popularity, they also become more generic. Essentially, we get increasing sales due to a tendency to popularize musical styles with low variety and musicians with similar skills. Recent research shows that over the past 50 years, pop music has gotten more and more homogenous. Songs have fewer melodic, chordal, and timbral variations, and most producers just crank up the track's volume instead. Grammy winning songwriter and producer Larry DeVoskin says, "The people who are making the hits today have gone into fewer and fewer hands. It's like the Occupy movement. There's 99% of people in the business that are barely earning a living, and there's the 1% that are making a ginormous amount of money. The industry is far less willing to take risks on new artists or songwriters and trying to strike out new directions." Okay, so now let's take a look at the future of pop music. A tool to help us figure out the future of music is knowing that record companies are only comfortable promoting things that they already know will sell. Record labels are pouring resources into data analysis tools and using them to predict which songs will be the next breakout hit. Once a worthy song or artist emerges from the data, radio conglomerates have mechanisms in place to ensure that its music will connect with an audience. A very good example of this is Clear Channel's On the Verge program. When a song is dubbed On the Verge, every station in Clear Channel's network, which is about 850, has to play the song at least 150 times, blasting it to a potential network of 245 million listeners. And this undoubtedly helped launch artists such as Iggy Azalea to levels of success which they may not have otherwise earned with just their sheer talent alone. And this kind of success is creating swarms of hip-hop imitators, which labels will choose to blast out to the public in massive quantities because their chance of success has been proven. And this is the cycle, people. Okay. First, we discuss what makes music sound good to people by showing you that many people do not like complexity in their music and that people like songs that sound familiar to them, causing many radio stations to push out familiar sounding music. Also, playing an instrument may affect your musical taste. The second thing we discussed was what pop music is like today and why. I showed you that music has much less variation before and is becoming very homogenous. I also showed you how very few people are controlling this industry and their main motive really is just money. They don't want to take any risk with anything new. Finally, I showed you some of what the future of music will be by making it clear how music is homogenizing and artists are not nearly as adventurous and it's just being replaced by turning up the fader in the mixing studio. Also, record labels will only promote songs they know will sell. People are getting exposed to the same things over and over again, and it's exactly what the media giants and conglomerates want to fill their pockets with, our cash. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope you now understand why pop music is so successful today, even though personally, I believe it sounds like garbage. And the direction that this music is heading is indeed more of the same stuff we hear on the radio already. But if you want to see change, something you can do is support small artists, local music, and independent record labels. I really hope you enjoyed this podcast and try and change the state of music today. Thank you.